is a great time to be alive, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, there is no time that I would rather be alive than right now. Now, I know what y'all are saying. Great time, what's this dude talking about? His cheese is done slid off his cracker. He's a wrestler guy, right? It must be true. He's got hit in the head too many times. How could this be great times? These are hard times. Look at everything going on. The same people who spent 2 years telling us to follow the science now ignore basic biology.
Yes.
Thanks, guys. It is a great time to be alive, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, there is no time that I would rather be alive than right now. Now, I know what y'all are saying. Great time, what's this dude talking about? His cheese is done slid off his cracker. He's a wrestler guy, right? It must be true. He's got hit in the head too many times. How could this be great times? These are hard times. Look at everything going on. The same people who spent 2 years telling us to follow the science now ignore basic biology. The media no longer reports the news. They massage the facts to promote their preferred narrative. And if you don't agree with that narrative, you're a bigot, or even worse, an extremist. Big tech colludes with the government to censor dissenting voices. Inflation is still high. The economy feels like it's a house of cards. There's a disaster at our southern border. Our schools have become indoctrination centers. The President of the United States doesn't seem to know where he is most of the time. Y'all see the recent press conference that he had where he ended it by saying, "God save the Queen, man"? And his staff said, "We don't know what he's talking about." He doesn't know what he's talking about either. And perhaps most alarming of all, the alphabet soup agencies of the federal government have been weaponized for political purposes. And the first time ever, a former president of the United States has been indicted using what I will call very generously, a novel application of the law. These are hard times. And of that, there is no doubt. I didn't say that we were living in good times. I said it was a great time to be alive. And it's a great time to be alive because the end of one cycle is approaching and a new cycle will soon begin. Everything in nature runs in cycles. Day turns to night, night turns back to day. Spring yields to summer, summer turns to fall, fall turns to winter, then back to spring. Back to spring. In Ecclesiastes 3:1, the Bible talks about these cycles. To everything there's a season and a time to every purpose under heaven. See, God designed nature as cyclical, not linear. And history is the same way. Karl Marx believed that history was a steady march towards the ultimate social arrangement, communism. Fortunately, like with most of what Marx thought, he was wrong. When you look back at history, you see predictable patterns emerge. As Mark Twain said, history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. So here we are, as we have been many times in our history. Our nation faces an existential threat to our way of life. This time, it's not from out there, but it comes from within. Cultural Marxism is not some conspiracy theory, as the left would have you believe. It began with the Frankfurt School in Germany in the early 20th century when Marxist academics decided that there was never going to be a worldwide workers' revolution because, ironically, capitalism produces too much wealth for too many people. So they had turned their attention to undermining Western culture and to a revolution driven not by workers, but by society's elites. Make no mistake, what we are witnessing today is a counter-revolution to the principles of 1776. Just like 1776, trouble has come to America. Now we can feel sorry for ourselves that we live in such a time, or we can rejoice that we have the opportunity to shape the world that our children and our grandchildren will live in. In the American crisis, thank you, yes, thank you, that's a good line, I appreciate it, thank you. In the American crisis, a pamphlet that George Washington found so inspirational that he ordered it read to the troops at Valley Forge. Thomas Paine wrote, "If there must be trouble, let it be in my day that my child may have peace." And this single reflection, well applied, is sufficient to awaken every man to duty. Duty is calling again. Now is not the time to shirk it. We must embrace it. Obviously, it's easier said than done. It's tempting to throw up our hands in despair, to lose hope. I mean, good Lord, they just indicted a president. What chance do the rest of us stand? The challenges are too big. But folks, we serve a big God. And as people of faith, there is no challenge too big. A while back, I was listening to a podcast about this very subject. The host said something that I will never forget. He said, when your faith begins with a boulder rolling away from the mouth of a tomb, and a man who 3 days before had been beaten and tortured within an inch of his life and then nailed to a cross to die. And that man comes walking out of that tomb like a boss, like it never even happened. The words fear and hopelessness cannot be in your vocabulary. Nowadays, fear, hopelessness, and anger abound. And I get it, these are hard times. But as conservatives, we must set an example. Moreover, as Christians, we must set an example. We must remain positive and committed to what we believe in, not engage in negativity and concentrate solely on what we oppose. They just started a Faith and Freedom chapter in Tennessee, and what's impressed me the most is the positive message that it promotes. The first event that I was invited to was to recognize state lawmakers who champion freedom. And if you've been following Tennessee politics, this last session was the most contentious, the worst session since the Civil War. Those folks needed a pat on the back, someone telling them, job well done. There are a lot of groups out there right now who do nothing but criticize and complain. Instead of following Ronald Reagan's adage that the person who agrees with you 80% of the time is your friend and ally, not a 20% traitor, they're more critical of those on their side than they are the opposition. And I can tell you as an elected official, that gets really old really quick. You tend to not listen to those people anymore. They lose influence with you. On the other hand, when you treat someone like you're on their side, they listen to you. Doesn't mean that you're always going to agree and that you shouldn't hold them to a high bar, hold them accountable, and call them when they make a mistake. But if you approach things from a place of mutual respect and friendship, you're going to go a lot further than if you come from a perspective of constant confrontation. So much negativity right now. If we want to set ourselves apart, be positive, be constructive, and above all, have faith and hope. Yeah, these are hard times, but change is coming. It's up to us to determine whether that change is positive or negative. I believe it's going to be positive. See, the other side, right now, they're thinking, we're on the ascent. We're about to take everything over. They're in for a rude awakening. Because nighttime is coming for them, but for the rest of us, dawn is breaking. Remember when Ronald Reagan said, it's morning in America? Ladies and gentlemen, it is once again about to be morning in America. And I do believe that our best days are ahead of us. Thank you all for the great work that you're doing. Thank you for having me here today. God bless all of you, and God continue to bless the United States of America. Thank you.